We're here with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. And today we're talking about Overkill's The Walking Dead. Is this just another disappointing licensed game? Well, not quite. Sorta. The reason we are talking about yet another licensed Walking Dead game is because this one is from the developers Overkill. It's a big enough deal, their name is part of the freaking title of the game. Overkill are the brains behind the Payday game, so when this game was announced years ago, everyone's ears perked up, including mine. Does this live up to the beloved Payday games? Well, it's okay. Add to that a side of potential for something eventually even better. The first thing, if you are a fan of these games, is that it's not just another Payday or even like a Payday mixed with Left 4 Dead. It's not. It's a mix of a bunch of other types of games. Obviously, it's all multiplayer, but there was seemingly an emphasis on story leading up to the release of this game. Hopefully you didn't get your hopes up, though, because there's not much. Once you get into it, you realize there's not much going on in that regard. There is some nice presentation that they clearly spent some money on, but it's really all about the gameplay here. And you progress through different levels and scenarios and can bounce around and replay, all with the theme of surviving and doing Walking Dead-ish stuff. Sometimes it's you sneaking around hordes of zombies, trying to get a generator to work or open up a door to get through. Other times you're running and gunning because it all devolves into chaos. And most of the time, honestly, it does because you're dealing with playing with other players online who don't get the nuance of stealth and sneaking around zombies. Sometimes you're holed up somewhere and you're fending off hordes of zombies, boarding up gates in defensive type modes, and sometimes you're heisting equipment from rival survivors. So you're not just shooting zombies, sometimes you're actually shooting dudes, which was a nice surprise, and it changes things up pretty nicely. Now, combat works well enough with you being able to choose from a group of different survivors with different stuff and weapons, and the real emphasis is on melee combat and sometimes using guns. What I do really like is that this isn't totally a guns-blazing, mow-down zombies type of game. Ammo and health and on-the-fly crafting supplies are extremely limited, and at times it kind of reminds me of older survival horror games where the most tense situations were when resources were tight. That surprised me, and I enjoyed that. Melee weapons feel fairly responsive and nothing out of this world, but zombie gore deformation definitely helps. There's a bunch of different types of melee weapons, like a bat, like a pole you can stab them through the head with, or a machete, and you can dismember and mess up zombies real good, and it looks good, and it makes up for like the standard feeling generic melee hits. Shooting is workmanlike. It's also fine with a very close quarter shotgun, a sniper rifle, a submachine gun. There's aiming down sights and all that. Zombies are intense though. They can almost a bit too easily grab you, and it happens a lot, and the camera control gets taken over and they get in your face. It looks cool at first, but it gets annoying pretty quickly. I really like how sound is a factor in a lot of scenarios though. You can only cause so much noise and destruction before the hordes start pouring in, and basically you're screwed. Overkill packs a really impressive amount of zombies here. They never stop. And they're actually really hard to kill. They make your cool looking revolver look like an underpowered piece of garbage. I don't know how I feel about that, but zombies are relentless. It feels like they never stop spawning and just showing up to ruin everything. It's frustrating, almost to the point of it feeling unbalanced and unreasonable, but I don't know yet. A part of me feels like that's what they're going for here, to make you feel desperate and hopeless to the zombie apocalypse. And like I said, the zombies are really cool looking, especially the different zombie types, like a SWAT team armored zombie and explodey dudes. But again, there's also the human enemies, and you have to deal with some really dumb enemy artificial intelligence with these camp survivors. It's almost embarrassing at times. But on the flip side, the environments look pretty damn good. They actually really nailed the distinct look of some Washington, D.C. neighborhoods in a really, really impressive way. The problem is that load times are really, really long, even on modern PCs. And when you're matchmaking or backing out to the menu and then jumping into your base, having a long load time in between them all kind of sucks. Couple that with some weird clipping and bug issues, and you've got a bit of a weird package. A lot of community members have noted that a lot of the same issues have persisted since the beta. I haven't played the beta much, so I can't report to that, but I just wanted to mention it. But to go back, once you get into a flow on how the game works, and if you're playing with friends, which you really, really should be, it's fine. Communication is key. You gotta get generator or forklift parts, hurry to put them together just in time as you're low on health and you scrape past one last zombie. It's all fine, but like I said, it feels way better with friends. Honestly, I'd almost go as far as to say is that's the only way you should be playing, because it doesn't work without communication. In all honesty, the game works, it just doesn't feel as fulfilling or fun as I really would want it to. It's a bit mindless. Thankfully, it is challenging, especially the defensive modes, which I didn't mind, but man, those defenses go down so quickly. But like I said, you do bounce back to a city map and choose what type of scenario you want to play. There is a sub-game with resources that you expend to keep your growing survivor camp all good, as well as upgrading it all. It felt a bit tacked on to me, but on the flip side, what I did like was the player progression, specifically with the characters. Each character has different skins to choose from and entire multiple skill trees to progress through. You can get even better at shooting, hold more ammo, craft better stuff, and I found leveling up a character you choose to be really satisfying, because even when you lose, and we lost a lot, I'd almost say almost too much, I think, thankfully, you're always making progress to making your character a little bit more badass, as well as just upgrading your weapons with attachments you find and secure out in the wild if you do survive. Thankfully, that stuff is probably the most satisfying aspect of the game. That's a little bit of a multiplayer type of grind that I'm down for engaging in, because it seems to be fairly well thought out, and I like that. And thankfully, matchmaking has worked pretty well for us too. We played a shit ton of matches since release, and we've been able to group up and matchmake with another 2 individuals with us when we needed to. I just wish the game gave more options and flexibility in this regard though. And that does lead to one other caveat. It's not a bad game, but it just doesn't feel like it justifies a full price tag yet. I don't usually try to compare dollar value to time spent, but the package just feels a bit slight. There's not a ton of modes, it plays fine. Sometimes it just feels like it's still in beta, especially with the limited offerings. I still think there's potential here for this game to grow into more, considering I don't hate the game by any means. It's just not as fun or as satisfying as I think it could be so far. I'm hoping they support it and add more stuff and modes while also throwing in more in-game stuff to keep it fun and fresh during gameplay. I really, really want to love this game, and if Overkill sticks with it, I think it will find more of a fan base. Because that's how a Before You Buy works. I give you some pros, some cons, and a bunch of personal opinion, so now I definitely want to hear yours. It seems like people are really divided on this game. There are a lot of people defending it, they really like it, and they're having fun with it, and other people think it's complete garbage trash. I want to know what you guys are thinking down in the comments, what you see from the gameplay, or whether or not you got your hands on it. If you got any other tips for players out there, we want to hear it. I'd say one tip is go into the option menus and make sure you turn on hit indicators, because for some reason they were defaulted to off, which is weird. Anything Overkill's Walking Dead, let us know down in the comments. We want to hear from you guys. But if you learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps us out. We appreciate it. And if you're new, you should consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell, because we put out different types of videos every single day. But anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.